Alright, hello my people, it's me again. I am making this little sequence of videos as a sort of fast response to your end of year test in math, because I'm thinking that if you go on summer holiday and you go all summer forgetting everything about it, then it won't make much sense for us to talk about it after the summer break. This first video is just a few general remarks that, first of all, I hope that all of you got a nice solid experience of what it feels like to be on a math exam in the IB. That you can kind of remember what the time pressure feels like and what it feels like to be completely left on your own with a set of long and difficult questions. So of course, I hope that you remember this and you take it along for the whole next year. Whenever we get a hand-in assignment, that you use the hand-in assignments to try and simulate the same situation so that you can train and probably become a lot better at handling the situation. I also think that when you get your grades, they will be available very soon for the end of year test. I suspect that all of you will think that this grade is not as high as the one you want to have for your final exam in math. And I can definitely say that for almost every one of you, the grade is also lower than the predicted grade I give you. And that's perfectly natural, because the predicted grade is really me trying to predict what your final exam result will be. And in that prediction, I assume that your end of year test will be not quite as good, and that you use this experience as a kind of motivation to study harder next year and try to make sure that you bring along the knowledge you need for the final exam. So that's actually the main purpose of the end of year test. Secondary, of course, it is also a nice opportunity to realize what topics you still haven't fully understood, and maybe even realize how you want to train and study this in the future, maybe even in the summer break. So these videos I'm making is actually me going through every single question on the end of year test, solving it as if I was taking the exam. And I'll try to be thinking aloud so you can sort of follow what sort of knowledge I am having stored in my head, and that you should also try to get into your heads. I will make for each of the two papers 3 videos, where the first video I will choose the questions that I consider to be the easy ones. Of course, this is kind of a subjective opinion, but also they slightly objective, that these are the questions that you should, all of you, be able to sit down and pretty quickly get all the knowledge under control so that you could solve these questions very fast and without any difficulty. They are also questions that if you solve all of them right, then you already have accumulated enough marks to be sure that you have a passing grade. So that's the first video, and for the second video I take like the medium difficulty ones, the ones that you have to struggle with, and if you solve all of those, then you are up to around a grade 5. And for the last video I take the hardest questions, that are the ones that if you want a 6 or a 7, then you definitely need to be able to handle those as well, or most of them. And also, of course, that if you want a grade 5 and you don't do everything right from the first 2 videos, then you need to get some points from the last questions. But I hope this means that you can, each of you, choose what videos are most relevant for you to watch and get as much out of them as possible. One suggestion would be to take and watch a video, and when you finish the video, you get out a copy of the questions. I'll make sure you have that. and maybe try to solve each of those questions on your own right afterwards, using only your memory. That would be kind of a good training opportunity. But anyway, I hope you can use these videos, and I'll just get started on the real business.